This episode of the production channel is brought to you by our sponsor, Boxing Productions.
So when you arrived on property,
Yeah.
I assume that the practice courts and floors and things had already been built.
The courts were there, and so when I first got there, my first day I want to say was July 4th actually. So on July 4th, our first day there, the courts were built, the stanchions were there. It was not player ready yet because it still hadn't been sanitized yet, and they had a whole team that would come in and sanitize pretty much every time we left. So there was courts there. You know how the Orlando Magic, we've got a normal game day court, and then they did the orange colored jerseys, and they had an orange court because it was literally 5 minutes down I-4. Both of our courts were there. The next room had a Miami court because Miami's not too far. They shipped it up. And there was a few other teams that were close enough to Orlando that they would bring in their game courts, and those became the practice courts. So when we were in those buildings setting up, I actually got a couple pictures, of course, because I actually took a picture like this with the Magic logo behind me, and then on the other one of the Miami logo behind me. And I sent it to my wife because she didn't really know the whole format of what we're doing. You know, I'm like, oh, I'm in Miami today. And she's like, what? You're at Disney? I'm like, haha, nope, at Disney. Yeah, you know, you got to be goofy. Have some fun with it.
So, you know, we know a lot of people in the industry. You've mentioned other people other robotic people who you kind of met from all around the country, your counterparts.
Yep.
How many other local camera operators did you know? No matter what level they were on, how many other guys?
Off the top of my head, I know Jamie Soto was there. I know Jim Daly, Chad Drain, a couple of guys down from Tampa. Tom Cassesi was there. And there was honestly the local crew, not just camera guys. Local crew, I'll say there was about 150 because there was a lot of us were in the trucks. A few of us were in the robo control room. You know, across the green and yellow red bubbles, I'll say it's about 150, maybe 175 as far as Orlando, Florida, Tampa crews. And I think the total number was somewhere around 500. So there was a
500 production crew members.
Sorry?
500 production crew members.
Yeah, 500 production crew members. Like the entire bubble was somewhere around 500. A little less, a little more, but yeah.
About 150 local crew people,
as far as like,
not necessarily robo.
Right, not necessarily robotic guys, right. And just, you know, I'd walk in,
that's awesome.
I know that guy, hey, how you doing, blah, 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 you know. Got to see a lot of people I know, so.
So I get it. Okay, so we're talking about 150 people locally, which is great for the local AV talent crew getting some work. Thank God for Disney being so close. Its involvement with ESPN, ABC, all of that, you know, we benefited from that. That's right. That's right. Okay, so now from a game perspective, so there are some hard cameras on the actual court, but then you're relying heavily on a robotic standpoint. So how do you see that affecting the ongoing NBA season?
Well, I honestly, I don't think it's going to be too much different than what we're used to as far as the ongoing, especially the next season supposedly starting up around the end of December. I know they're going to start relying on those robotic cameras. I just don't know to what extent. Like I could see ESPN when they're covering a game, maybe having one or two extra robots, but your normal, like a Fox show, the local RSN for Magic or for the Heat, they're probably going to have their normal complement of robos. But I would assume possibly just pushing the handhelds back 10, 15 feet off the court. So where you used to sit right there under me to steal my replays and shots, you would now be a few feet back. So you wouldn't get to have that beautiful angle that I've got. But I could definitely see moving forward, especially if there's another bubble, they were definitely relying very heavily on the robots. just to keep that human
Gotcha.
aspect, keep us back a little bit.
Okay, so that's the game, right? That was the process, and you all were tested not every day, but
We had to
how
test
often?
twice a week. So yeah,
Okay,
it was twice a week, and now the way it was, but as long as you kept testing clean, everything was fine. But if, again, I don't know of anyone who got a dirty test, but if you did get a dirty test, from what I was told, the process was you quarantine in your room, MBA doctors contact you, they come and do the full-on up brain tickle test, and then they go from there. But yeah, we were getting tested twice a week. Mine, it was a different schedule depending on, I've got some pictures of the schedule too. Just, I probably took 1,000 pictures when I was there, just because it was like such an overwhelmingly awesome experience. But yeah, so my schedule, I think, was Monday and Thursday. Every morning I'd be there 5, 6, 7 a.m. Whatever time I had to be to work, I would always try to go before and get my test and go to work.
okay, nice. So from an emotional standpoint, what was it like being inside of that bubble for that extended
In
period
the
of time?
beginning, 12 hours a day or 10 hours a day, whatever the normal days were, because it was a different schedule almost every day until the end. Then the schedule started getting a little bit lighter. 10 hours a day, I'm at work. I'm at a venue I know. I used to work at the complex. I started the ESPN Broadcast Center that's on Disney property there in the Wide World of Sports. So to me, 10 hours a day, I'm at work. It's a normal gig. At the end of the day, I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to go home. But instead of getting on I-4, 5 minutes driving home, or on the Greenway, home in 10 minutes, I go straight, and now I'm staying in a hotel. That's when it got weird. Again, beautiful hotel, nothing against it. I didn't want to be there, just to be completely honest with you. I knew my pregnant wife and my less than 1-year-old child were 10 minutes away. So let's say emotionally, the hardest part of the day was knowing when I get off this gig, I'm not going home. I'm going to go talk to my son on FaceTime. I'm going to go talk to my wife on FaceTime, not be able to be, in the house with them. Not even, and a lot of people are like, oh, you're the local, you're 10 minutes away. You have to be, excuse me. I'm sure you're sneaking out. Like, no, dude, no. There's no other work out there, number one. Number two, it's my first time ever working for Fletcher directly. I am not trying to burn this client. So like, oh, you have to be cheating. No, I did not cheat once. 74 days. From the time I left, it was 74 days before I came home, and every night sucked. And again, I had full confidence that my wife could handle it. She is my rock. She was a trooper the whole time. She held it down.
So from that standpoint, how was it for her emotionally, right? That's how you dealt with it. Right. What was she expressing to you?
She, again, is a trooper. I never saw her crack. I'm sure she did, but she was holding it down. She was solid. There was a couple of times where, Philly, my son, was teething at the time. He still is, which teething is fun for you guys. Teething, by the way, is the reason I didn't want a second kid, but she's pregnant again. So, hey, what are you going to do? So at the time, again, Philly was teething. So there would be a couple of times where, she was having a bad day, but that's the most I would hear. Hey, we're having a bad day today. Hey, I'm sorry. I wish I could be there. Stop it. You're fine. Go make money. Don't worry about this. I've got it. So again, she was, if it wasn't for her, I don't know if I would have lasted 74 days. All the credit she gets. It was a rough gig. We busted our butt, hopefully, God willing, this is my first Emmy. There's, I know there's a chance for that. But I wouldn't have been able to do any of it. I probably would have lasted 12 days if she wasn't so strong. I wouldn't have hit 74.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, man.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Today, I was texting back and forth with another one of our friends whose wife is pregnant, Kyle.
He was in the bubble too.
Yep, he was in the bubble with you,
yep.
With the pregnant wife at home.
Watching. I got him on the game.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, I know that one of the ways that he dealt with being inside of that bubble for an extended period of time, you as well joined the happy hours that we would have, the virtual happy hours that we would have on Thursday nights, on
usually had
Zoom,
to
via
do sober.
Zoom.
There was a few times we spoke in those happy hours that we were still working at those times, but yeah, it was fun.
Yep. So Kyle, on one of the events, on one of our nights, he did a cooking class for us. So it's crazy. Like Kyle's inside of the bubble in his hotel room with a rice cooker, with an air fryer, with a crock pot, with a sous vide. The sous vide was what really blew me.
Yeah, and you know, the first week he's there, he's like all on Amazon. I'm gonna buy this. I'm gonna buy that. I'm gonna buy that. And I'm like, what is this sous vide? Like, what is it? What are you talking about? But he had an entire kitchen set up in his room. That the first time he let the maids in, he had to disassemble his kitchen. They didn't like the idea that he had a full kitchen set up. That, you know, it's kind of a fire hazard, I guess.
I mean, a little bit. It's a little fire hazard. He's got his huge Yeti cooler in the tub, and he's telling us about, I put it in the tub so I can drain it. You know, I just pull out the thing, stopper, let the water drain out. I fill it back up with ice, and like, wow, like you seriously thought this out.
He planned and packed, and he was ready, dude. Yeah, it was.
Had golf clubs too.
Every other night. It was great.
Oh man, so on his cooking class,
I wasn't able to hang out as much. Like I said, he was making steaks every night. He was cooking every night. At the same time, I was in the bubble. Like you mentioned, I'm also an instructor for Full Sail. So when the apocalypse started, when everything started shutting down, Full Sail campus had shut down. So my normal class that I would teach, the broadcast production class at Full Sail, we were no longer allowed on campus. So all of our on-campus classes moved to an online version. So our campus students were now taking our classes and our lectures and everything online through like Zoom meetings and stuff like that. We recorded a bunch of videos of all the different lectures we would give on the gear, and they would watch those, and then we would, do this all online. So like I said, once the apocalypse started, I moved to online, and I was actually grading assignments for a different class. So the whole time I was in the bubble doing 40 to 50 hours a week for the NBA, for Bubble, for ESPN, I was also pulling 35 to 45 hours a week of grading assignments. So now the reason I bring it up, while Kyle is sending me these pictures of this beautiful steak and this pile of rice and potatoes and all this like gourmet food he's making in his hotel room, I'm eating a bag of chips while I'm grading 40 hours a week. And I'm just like, all right, do I ask him to just bring me a steak to my room? No, I'm just gonna microwave some nonsense.
Oh man, nah. I would have been like, hey, hook me up, bring a steak by. Like, papers
don't get me
will
wrong.
wait.
He offered many times, like, hey, I'm cooking tonight, and I'm like, yeah, I got 15 assignments to grade tonight. So. And actually, another picture I'll send you. There was a couple times where I'd be in the bubble, like I was in the practice crew. So we're in the room. We're in our our robo control room. We've got all these different stations set up. This one is plugged into this cord. This one plugged into that cord. So I'm waiting because I know like the Lakers are going to have their practice at 2:00. I got my laptop set up next to the robo controller. Well, my producer says, "Okay, turn on Lakers practice." Put the laptop aside, shoot their practice. Okay, turn it off because we're only allowed a certain amount of time to shoot during their practices. Turn off the Lakers, go back to Full Sail. And I was just kind of double dipping the whole time I was in there, which was a little bit rough. Like it got a little confusing, but just had to do what I had to do because I couldn't give up that job to take this one. Had to work.
Well, I'm sure Full Sail benefited from you still contributing as a faculty member. With the students and engaging with the students. On top of that, the amount of experience that you have by being inside of the bubble and what you learned is educational material for Full Sail. So they definitely benefited from you as an institution.
I got to use a couple different robotic systems I had never seen before. I'm used to the normal above the rim robot, but there was two or three other different types of transmission to be able to control a robotic camera 10 miles away at a different complex, and I had to learn how to do all that. new gear, new experiences, just overall the entire bubble has been really great now that I'm out of the bubble, interacting with students again on Zoom and other aspects because we're still in a pandemic. But being able to bring that to the students has actually been pretty beneficial. It's been I want to say almost upped my game a little bit as being able to help and teach and train the next generation of our industry, which is a little scary if you know me, but I mean, it's still fun. And a little side note, Hotel didn't know I was in the bubble at the time. I figured, hey, sorry, I was there. I'm not hiding it now. But when I got the call, I knew I'd spoke to my one of my managers over there. And I'm like, yeah, so when do you think campus is going to open up again? Oh, we have no idea. It's going to be a while. Thanks.
Got it. So as we wrap up here, my final question to you, two-part question.
Okay.
Would you do it again? And what is your biggest takeaway from this experience?
Would I do it again is a tough one because obviously if we have to do another bubble situation for the next season, society's in trouble. Not to say, I mean, I'm not trying to get all philosophical about it, but I would like to see COVID gone, pandemic ended, bubble not needed. So past that, would I do it again? Yes, I would in a heartbeat. Because I know that my wife is strong enough. Again, she's pregnant now, and she's about to give birth in about a week and a half for my daughter, my first daughter, second child. And I know my wife is strong enough to be able to handle it and to be able to make it work if I were to be gone for another 70 to 100 days. It would kill me to miss the first 100 days of my daughter's life. But again, not to sound braggy, but the money was phenomenal. Again, we had spoken some numbers in the beginning of this conversation. We lost a lot because of the pandemic and because of the shutdown. I would say that we're doing all right. Like, I'm not buying a new car, but I don't have to worry about next month's mortgage situation. So if there was another 100 days of that type of money, of course, it would be really hard to say no, especially knowing that my wife would be able to handle it. And I know that she's a strong person. I mean, she deals with my crap all day. I know she's a strong person. So she would definitely be able to handle it. And I know we'd be okay. It would definitely take some conversations. It would definitely take some planning. But would I do it again? Yes. Because I know that she's already told me if it comes up again, don't even ask. Don't even wait. Just say yes. Now, as far as my biggest takeaway from it, professionally, I learned a lot. New experiences, new people. Hopefully my first Emmy, please. I learned a lot. I got to interact with my counterpart from around the world, from around the country. I'm sorry, different teams, different people, same experience. Being able to interact with those people, being able to learn new gear, being part of what I would say one of the coolest work experiences I honestly have ever had. In the industry we work, I've done some really cool stuff, but this has got to be the biggest, most just over the top, overwhelmingly awesome gig I'd say I've ever had. Personally, I'd say I grew a little bit. Like, my wife and I's relationship is pretty strong, and I'd say it was definitely helpful to know that we were able to last a full 74 days away from each other, and everything was still good. Everything was still awesome, if not better. So again, yes, I would definitely do it again. My biggest takeaway is just growth. Being able to say that I'm that much stronger, that much better at what I do, and learned that much more about what I do.
Wow. That's amazing, Frank, to know that through something that could be so overwhelmingly scary and nerve-wracking for others, you took that on, and your family, your wife, you were able to take that on and make a challenge a championship of your own. Yeah.
That's, like I said, it was very challenging. Like I said, when I left, this was the weirdest part when I came back. When I left, my son wasn't walking yet. He was crawling around a little bit. I left a little baby in a playpen. By the time I came back, he's running around, chasing me around the house. I would always try to be as helpful as I could, whenever my wife needed something, try to be able to be there. And, of course, I'm not perfect, but doing my best. My first few days back, I actually felt like I got in her way because she had just done 74 days being pregnant with a less than 1-year-old, handling it like a champ the entire time. So when I came back, I'm like, okay, well, what do I do here? What do I do there? She's like, what you do? Step aside and let me do it. Okay. And I had to kind of fall back into that groove. So
Yeah.
it was nuts, man.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Crazy.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you for sharing your journey with the people and the viewers of the production channel.
No problem. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching.